Brody Miller with The Athletic, our next guest. I'm Blail Collins here in about 15 minutes. Brody, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Doing very well. So you've done a little bit of reporting, got a piece up on The Athletic about where this head coaching search is headed. I just think back to the defensive coordinator search that went on last year, and here comes Marcus Freeman, and everybody reports it, and he leaves. And here comes Zach Arnett, and everybody reports it, and he leaves. And it seems like we were there every step of the way. This one from in the back, I don't see very much at all going on. You're looking there trying to dig. Is it as quiet as it sounds?
Definitely, yeah, it's a great way to put it. I mean, it's not quiet because there's a lot going on, but it's quiet in the sense that, yeah, Scott Woodward is a guy who I think is really good at operating in a smart way. He's good at kind of, sending messages that make people think one thing and misdirecting and all these things. And I think that's what makes it a little tricky. He's very good at his job in that way. And also the toughest thing, I mean, you go back to the baseball search. Like you said, the defensive coordinator search, it's almost why I hate doing pieces like this because it's like something can be true and things can evolve and change constantly. Like the baseball search, a lot of the things that other people were reporting were true. They just changed a lot, and I think that's what makes this so tough. But yeah, I think the tough thing is Jimbo Fisher was obviously somebody that there was contact with from the very beginning, and there was points in the past month where there was a lot of confidence that might happen as recently as even like a week or two ago. Some people close to Woodward really said that Woodward thought he might get him, but it does seem like that confidence has waned. It does, and then obviously Jimbo came out with this very strong comments this week. So that seems less likely right now. Will I rule it out, until there's a new coach hired?
Yeah.
Probably not, but it's totally possible. And then after that, which I'm sure we'll get to, there's some big candidates they're looking at. It's just hard to tell what they can actually land.
I guess the question I have is if somebody that they're trying to hire is playing for a conference championship or make it into the playoff, you can't really hire them until they're done with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that is always such a tough thing. I think the way I've always understood it is there are, even though maybe Scott Woodward's not directly talking to a coach or something like that, there is, conversations happening. There's contact happening, whether it be through agents or other people. So you're probably getting an idea, right? So let's say hypothetically there's a coach that's playing in a conference championship game, and Scott Woodward knows that he can get him. Yeah, you're going to wait happily, and he knows he has him in that hypothetical scenario. Playoff definitely makes it trickier with the signing day and all that, and that makes it really hard. And I think but if it's a coach that you're happy enough with, a coach that's good enough to be in the playoffs, yeah, you probably take that short-term loss to make sure you get your guy. But still, yeah, overall, I think these conversations are happening even if it's not official.
A lot of Tiger fans think there's going to be a head coach in after the last Texas A&M game. Do you think that's a realistic timetable?
Yeah, I think it's realistic, just in the sense that, yeah, I think let's say it's somebody who's not. Let's use the example of someone not playing in a conference championship game, and then I think the deal may not be done, but conversations are pretty far along before that A&M game's over, and so in that scenario, I think it's totally realistic to have it happen that next week. And there is obviously the element of wanting to get this, get a coach in place before the early signing period as early as possible. Am I going to predict that? Probably, not necessarily, just because there are moving parts. A lot of the coaches being talked about are in talks for a conference championship game, but it's possible.
Brody Miller is with The Athletic, got a piece up talking about where this where this head coaching search may be headed. So kind of your thoughts on where things may stand.
Yeah, so I think right now there is just a combination of noise, but also some real conversations being had that maybe Lincoln Riley is Oklahoma is the next big target he's chasing. The part that I flat out will admit ignorance on, and I don't know, is how sincerely interested Lincoln Riley may be. That part I don't know, and I won't pretend to know. But it does seem like there is a lot of conversation of, from money people, from people close to Woodward, that there is focus on Lincoln Riley to make a big offer, make him say no. It's just hard because for years the notion has been he wouldn't leave for anything other than the NFL. But I don't know. I mean, LSU's a really good job. Oklahoma coming to the SEC and maybe, I don't know, getting knocked down a peg in terms of their scale in the conference. Maybe that changes things. I don't know. And maybe too much money can make a guy say yes. But I have no idea if he's actually interested, but it does appear he's the next kind of top guy maybe. And then there are other guys to look at. I had, again, so much of this, it's hard to really nail down what's real and what isn't, but I had two different people bring up to me that Matt Campbell might be the sneaky candidate no one's talking about, that he may be really interested. And then shoot, I mean, Mel Tucker's been a name for a full month, and now you're not really hearing that as much. Or, as of 2 weeks ago, there was indications that Scott Woodward really had no interest in Billy Napier at Louisiana. And now all of a sudden it seems like there is maybe more due diligence being done there. Maybe he is a really solid backup candidate that he'd like. It's so hard to tell, but I guess that's the best way of putting it. Is it seems like he has one or two more, home run style, neck rising star coaches that he's still going for. But let's have contingency plans pretty backed up.
A name that I haven't hearing much about or from, especially in these LSU circles, is Lane Kiffin. Do you think this administration has any interest in him?
I still would be pretty surprised. I mean, I don't rule anything out. There's a lot of surprises going on with this stuff, and I'm prepared for it to be proven wrong. But I just don't think anyone I've really spoken to has mentioned him as a real person they're looking at. Scott Woodward has relationships with Nick Saban. He has relationships with a lot of people in this conference, and I just think he kind of, has his ideas of Lane Kiffin, and maybe he's not the perfect next coach considering the situation.
Brody Miller from The Athletic is our guest. Brody, what do you make of Ed Orgeron's press conference yesterday?
Leaving it open-ended for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very tricky situation, I think, because I think going back to, I want to say the Auburn game, Ed Orgeron has kind of been not afraid to point out criticisms of Jake Peetz, going back to the Auburn game when he was criticizing, the play calling situation and the need to burn all these timeouts. And then, you go back to just being too predictable, the running problems. He's been pretty open about that, but it does seem like, ever since the firing that there's been even more kind of freedom in his mind to kind of say what's going on and say what's wrong. And I'm not here to say if he's right or wrong or if it's valid or right for him to criticize. I don't know. To some extent, I even got a laugh out of the way he said, "Hey, man, I know I'm a lame duck. I can say what I want at this point." And I'm like, shoot, all the credit to you, really. So I don't know. But it is just kind of I think there's a lot of people in the building, though, that are just getting frustrated with a lot of the there is a lot of drama going on with some of these press conferences, and there's just kind of a negative look to the universities lately that I don't think a lot of people love.
So that's kind of my next question. Do you think that there's a sentiment that it may have been a mistake? I tend not to really care what coaches say at press conferences, but my opinion doesn't really matter to the people that do.
I won't say they think it's a mistake necessarily, but because again, like you said, what he's saying about the OC, what is that changing? Like, it's not like what is that, like, I think to your point, what is that affecting on the bottom line? Maybe the Nussmeier situation last week and how that was handled, that probably maybe led to more actual frustration in the department, just kind of the situation that put Garrett Nussmeier in, the star freshman quarterback, all these things. I think that there's probably more frustration with things like that. There's probably a little bit of an element of ready to get to the finish line here, but I don't know if it's like a regret necessarily.
What do you think the general morale of the team is right now? Obviously losing 2 gut-wrenching losses in back-to-back weeks. Do you think they care about making a bowl game this season?
Yeah, that's such a good question. It's something I'm curious of myself because there's a lot of – I think I had one administrator say, hey, bowls are a reward to the players. But to your point, who knows how much – and this might be a better question for you, but like with how draining this season has been, like do they really want to go another month of this? I just don't know the answer to that. I do think I will give credit where it's due. I mean, I have been blown away by kind of the fight they've shown these last 2 weeks, how good that defense is looking. They aren't acting at all like a team that's quitting. And it goes back to something I think I said on the show like a month ago that, it's, when people are talking about, are more guys going to opt out, stuff like that. And it's like, the guys left are not guys that can like have that luxury. The guys that are still playing are guys who have a lot to prove still. So I do think there is still a lot of fight there. I think there's probably there's frustration in the locker room. BJ Ojolari gave me a really good answer about how like, yeah, there's tension in the locker room, like, and there's issues like you would expect there to be, but the staff's doing a good job of kind of easing those things. But to your question of a bowl game, I think they want to win because they're competitors. I don't know if a bowl game is truly their greatest desire.
Brody Miller from The Athletic got a great piece up right now on this coaching search and where he sees it from his eyes. Brody, thanks for some time, man.
Thanks as always, guys. Take care.